Hey there, and welcome to Becoming a Bowhunter. I'm your host, Matty, and join me and our guests as we take the quality of meat back into our own hands. Searching the wild for free-ranged animals to harvest as ethically as we can. I interview a variety of specialists from the bowhunting community to help fast-track your journey as a bowhunter. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this chinwag on one of your favorite topics in the world, bow hunting. Guys, welcome back to Becoming a Bow Hunter. This week I'm joined by Rowan Walker. Rowan, welcome, mate.
Yeah, hey guys, it's a pleasure to be here, and thanks for inviting me to have a chat with you.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, we were just talking a little bit beforehand, but to give people a bit more of an insight to yourself, on Instagram, it's Rowan_Walker_Hoyt. You are known a bit as the Hoyt man yourself, and you're up in Northern Territory. Give us a little bit of a background, Rowan. How did you get into bow hunting? When did it all start for you?
So, I've got a photo of me at the age of 4 that Mum took a photo of me. It sort of started from then. Obviously, as I grew up, I dropped out of it, and experienced life and growing up as a kid. It really grabbed my attention in high school. We did archery as an elective, and this young guy had pulled this incredible-looking compound bow out. I look back now and go, well, it's a real junk heap, but it was cool. And it was punching these arrows through these Stremit-bore targets, and I was like, wow, I really want to be like that dude one day. And that's sort of really where I grabbed hold of it, and it really started from there.
Yeah, that's unreal, mate. So, I mean, it's always been a part of your life, which is really cool. And something you were just showing me was your little archery room where you've got all of your bows and all of your glory, which is incredible. And to be honest, a lot of it is pretty much filled with the Hoyt logo and Hoyt different bits and pieces. And something I saw on your Instagram was the big Hoyt gold brick. What is that?
Well, I was only sent that a couple of weeks ago, and we thought it was from Hoyt itself, but we found out it's from England, and it's a scrap molten metal from a steel factory, and they melt it down into ingots to sell it. It's easy to resell over there.
Yeah,
but it's quite old. They probably say it's about 30 years of age. So, but anyway, it's still cool. It's got Hoyt written on it, so it belongs in my Hoyt world.
You jumped on it. And so is that what you call your archery space, is Hoyt World?
Actually, everyone knows it as Hoyt World, yeah. Yeah. There's nothing else in here but Hoyt.
Mate, so, I mean, something I want to dive into, first of all, is all about Northern Territory. Because, I mean, you're up there. One thing I don't really know anything about is the rules and regulations that you guys have in Northern Territory.
Yeah. Northern Territory has always been known for a bit of a cowboy land. You can sort of come up and escape and get away and sort of do what you want. It's nearly sort of still that. Primarily, we hunt buffalo, hogs, horses, scrub bulls, donkeys. It's nearly everything's big game up here. We don't have any small game to hunt, and we get to do a lot of bow fishing too. So in regulations, there's really none.
How about, like, in regards to, like, for instance, your private land compared to public land side of things? What's the deals there?
Oh, look, sure. As it comes to private land, you've always got to have permission to go on there and hunt.
Yeah.
There is not very many areas where you can hunt free from, like in public land. You've got to have a permit regardless. There's no area where you can actually go and hunt for free.
Yeah.
A lot of it's tied up with the blackfella land and private stations and a couple of little areas where you can hunt.
Yeah, and so with the like passes you'd need to get, the licensing, for instance, to go onto a public land, how do you go about that? And is there certain lands that you can and can't go to that are public?
Yeah, there's only 3 areas in the territory where you can actually hunt pigs. Buffalo are not allowed to be hunted in these public areas. Mm-hmm. You go to the Department of Lands, you get your permit for $40 to hunt pigs, and it gives you a year's hunting.
Okay.
Those areas are really sort of used and abused. Doggers, spotlighters, rifle shooters. To be honest, it's simply not worth hunting, and we don't hunt them.
Yeah.
You try and find your own little bit of paradise on a station or a blackfella land, and away you go.
Yeah, and so obviously there is the Aborigines that live up there that have their sacred lands. which is what you're talking about. And so when it comes to that side of things, how does that all work? Like, how does that work? They've obviously got their sections. It's kind of like private land, really, but it's owned to their group, I believe.
Yeah, they've all got their own clans, own traditional owners, own areas. It's every sort of person has their own deal with them. Some pay, some trade, some barter.
Mm-hmm.
It just depends solely who you are, and it's who you know up here, really.
Yeah.
It's once you get on, you appreciate their land, you don't abuse it, and you just tell the truth to them.
Yeah.
So.
And a lot of the time they'll set it up so they're getting the meat back for themselves, right? So they're feeding their own tribes.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of the blackfella country, yeah, you can go out with them once you get on with them. You can go out with them, and you can shoot a buffalo with them. They want the meat. They're not interested in the head or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
They just simply want to feed the family and go home and do it all again.
Yeah, that's unreal. I've only been to in and out of Darwin twice, just for like a day at a time. And it's hot as all buggery. It's ridiculously hot compared to anywhere else in Australia that you used to. But I was blown away by the amount of Aborigines that were there and who were still talking in their own languages. And from one group to the other, it almost seemed like it was completely different dialect. I was kind of blown away by that just within Darwin itself.
Yeah, look, I'll never be able to understand it. And like you just said, every clan has their own language, and you could see 50 blackfellas, and there might be 4 or 5 different languages talking, and we got no idea what they're saying.
It's so crazy. Hey,
it's quite unique, and it's quite remarkable to actually, if you can actually sit there and listen to it, and really get into it, it's quite cool to listen to them.
Yeah, definitely.
It's like listening to German. I got no idea.
I actually learned the other day that they've all got I think it's called a line song, which is a history song of their tribe and where they've come from. And so what they'll do is when a new tribe meets another tribe, what they'll do is they'll sing their line song so they can kind of tell the history of where they've come from and their story of their background. I thought that was actually a really cool thing to kind of have.
Look, I'm going to be truthfully frank, man, and I haven't heard of that one before.
Yeah, okay.
No, I haven't heard that one.
Maybe it's someone pulling my leg.
Possibly.
Oh, that's funny. And so how about like your private land? There's obviously a lot of stations and bits and pieces up in Northern Territory. And there is obviously a lot of opportunities for guided hunts up there. What's like when it comes to getting access to some of those bigger, I guess, the bigger communities that they've got going on, the private lands that they've got going on, have you had much luck with that, or are they just do they just have too many people hitting them up?
Yeah, it's funny. So Darwin is a funny town, and it's one of these towns where a lot of people will come up from down south and live up here for a couple of years. And what we've sort of found is these Southerners, I call them Southerners, so because they know they're coming up and they know that they're leaving, they sort of unfortunately sort of use and abuse the privilege, and us locals are sort of going to pick up the pieces after they leave. Once we get hold of our personal station, which is private land, you look after it and you really do the best you can to maintain it and look after it and help the guys and just do the right thing, because there's so much land in the territory. Yeah, it's just so hard to get good access on. Farmers are being used and abused. They're being burnt. People do the wrong thing, and it just gets to that point where the farmer goes, enough's enough, I'm done with you guys, get out.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the true reality of this place, unfortunately.
And you can't blame them, right? Like, you just definitely can't blame them. If someone came into your house and came and thrashed your microwave and threw your beers on the ground and, I don't know, did shit to your house, you'd say, fuck off, like, get out. Like, you're not welcome here.
100% agreed, absolutely. And I can certainly understand, I was born and bred on a farm and sort of know how the land works. I've lived on and worked on them, and it's the same thing. They rock out with their pig dogs hanging off the side and their cruisers, and you just go, come on, guys, really, you've already given me a bad image.
Yeah, exactly.
You just got to be humble and and work hard at it.
Yeah, definitely. And so, I mean, coming into some of the animals you were talking about before, like you said, you've got some big game up there. Things like your buffalo, things like your scrub bulls, things like your donkeys. When it comes to an animal like a donkey, that's probably something I haven't really touched on, and same with the buff, but I wanted to dive into the donkeys a little bit more. What's the deal with donkeys when it comes to hunting them? What are the things you need to know, and what are the things you need to be aware of?
So really, if you see a donkey, you'll see him standing. It's usually front onto you. He's big kudu ears. If you're looking at you, if you're looking like a real dumb idiot at you, they're a very tough animal. They hold the shot really well if you don't hit them correctly. There's no limit to them. If you see a mob of 10, you can blaze the whole mob generally.
Mm-hmm. Is it actually easy to do though? Like, if you hit one, are they going to scare off and run away like a pack of deer would, for instance?
No. If there's a mob of sort of 5, 6, 7, or 8 or something, generally you can usually roll out 2 or 3 of them.
Okay.
They sort of watch the mate hit the ground. They'll spin around and say, "Hey, buddy, you okay? What's going on?" Then you can, usually nail him as well. And then the mob sort of gets a bit wary and go, "Okay, I've had enough," and they sort of stroll off.
Yeah.
But there's millions of them up here. They like to sort of live in that real remote country, quite some of the arid country, escarpment country.
Mm-hmm.
They're really good fun to hunt. There's not really a trophy value of them. They've got a cool tail. They've got a great skin if you want to cape them or skin them out. They make great floor rugs. They've got a big crucifix that run down the middle of their spine and across their shoulders. But a great animal, really good fun to hunt.
Are they pretty like skittish animals, or are they pretty easy to kind of stalk up on?
Nah, look, they're pretty dumb, pretty dumb animal. For a bow hunter, they're a great starting animal.
Okay.
But they're just tough.
Yeah, and so to transition into something like a buff, obviously they're going to be pretty. They're another step up. They're pretty big. They're pretty ridiculous in regards to their size, and potentially your gear has to be a fair bit bigger to take out something like a buffalo. What have you kind of found with buff? Like, what's your main go-to when it comes to going after your different buffalo?
Yeah, that's a good question, that, and I can answer it. Hopefully I can answer that well. A buffalo is not just a buffalo. It may sound funny, but you can get a floodplain buffalo and he'll be weighing a ton. He's just solid muscle and neck and fat, and he just looks at you like you owe him money. He wants to kill you. Yeah. And then you can go down, 5 or 6 hours down on the roper side, down that end, then you might get the same size, good genetic buffalo, but he's just a bag of bones. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have the tucker to live on and make him fat, but he's still a great animal, but then you're literally half his body space. So sometimes like shooting a paper bag, you can punch through them. But then you step onto these big floodplain balls and whole different animal, just a completely different animal again.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a buffalo. It's like from going to a Kenworth truck to a Nissan Navara.
Oh, that's hilarious. And so, I mean, how do you kind of pick the difference between the two?
It's just a visual look at them.
Yeah.
You can just simply look at him and go, "Oh my God, I've got to get my arrow through him," or I can look at him and go, "Oh, my arrow's going to punch through him like a balloon." I certainly give a buffalo a lot of respect. They deserve respect. It's an animal that will kill you. They got no natural predators. They're not afraid of anything. Mm-hmm. I've seen them charge cars. Put humans out of the helicopter. I've seen them swim through rivers to try and grab you. You just got to give them respect. Don't play around with them, and just got to make sure you hit them in that right high lung spot.
Yeah.
You touched on the sort of the gear that I used. Look, there's some great buffalo hunters in Australia. We've all shot sort of a lot of bulls. There's a guy down on the roper side, Owen, and he's the Australian master at buffalo. You don't need to shoot these 8,000-9,000 grain arrows. That's sort of getting way out of hand. Today's technology in archery is a lot more refined.
Yeah.
So an arrow anywhere sort of between 550 to 700 grain, 75 to 85 pound, and that will pull any bull down. If you hit him in the right spot, that's going to bring him down, and it's more than enough.
Yeah.
More than enough.
Yeah, definitely.
And most average guys in Australia, a sort of 28.5-inch draw, they're shooting 70 pound, 600 grain arrow, and I've seen a lot of bulls being taken with that sort of gear.
Job's done, yeah, definitely. And I mean, something you brought up just before was the actual, like, realistically, the safety side of it, and something that we probably take on as bow hunters without maybe realizing to start with is the fact that we are getting incredibly close to animals and that it can be incredibly dangerous at times. And I've heard stories of people getting gutted by buffaloes where they've literally just been in too close, or they get the bull down and they creep up to it before they should have, and the bull hops up and pins them against the tree and they literally just rip out their guts. Like, it heard some pretty brutal stuff going on regarding what they can do. So when it comes to hunting buff, like, what are some big steps that people should maybe look out for that they if they haven't been in dealing with them before?
Yeah, look, there's a lot of things there. Obviously, you have to know your gear. You've got to know your limitations of what you can and can't do. Learning how far you can shoot. You know, a good 2-blade broadhead or even a 3-blade broadhead. I like animals. I always hunt buffalo like I'm hunting a deer.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they got a set of Swarovskis stuck in their head, and as soon as they see you, boom, they're just locked onto you. Like they don't let you go.
Yeah.
Obviously, I like to try and shoot them when they're not looking at me.
Uh-huh.
I like to shoot them always broadside, standing up, sort of, and a high lung. I aim up right up the middle of the leg and top of the lung.
Uh-huh.
And if you hit him correctly, he'll go down in sort of 20, 25 seconds and it's all over.
Why top of the lung rather than the ticker?
I've just found that the ticker, they're such a big animal, they'll pump a lot of blood inside them. It doesn't usually come out.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to deflate them. You've got to deflate the balloon.
Yeah.
They've just got so much energy still after the heart. You know, I've seen some animals go for 5 minutes through the heart, and in 5 minutes in bowhunting, that's a hell of a long time.
Yeah.
So you've got to deflate the lungs, otherwise you're in trouble.
I had a mate tell me he pinned one and it walks. It went away from him. He's like, I think I'm definitely killed it, but a K later they were still finding blood, like droplets of it all over the place, and they've obviously got, like, if you've got a ton bull, like that's a lot of blood that's going to be floating around that sucker.
It's a massive animal. They've got big lungs, big heart, a bad attitude. And it's an animal that just doesn't want to die. They just don't give up. You've got to cut their head off to kill them, basically.
Yeah, far out.
You know,
and so
that's how I taught my wife. And I said, Jess, don't ever treat it until its head's cut off. Then you know it's safe.
Yeah.
Don't play around with them. You know.
So I mean, if you've got one on the ground, what are you doing to make sure there's dead? Are you going to put another arrow through it before you even head up to it?
No, look, just from experience, usually a buffalo, like most animals, they'll always be purely dead. If an animal is on its side with its legs sticking out, it's nearly 100% dead. Mm-hmm. We call it doggo. So even say for a hog, if you shoot a hog and he's wounded and he's still sort of sitting up and he's sort of crouched up and you see he's in the air, he's still alive.
Yeah.
You may think he's dead, but he'll be alive. And buffalo are the same. Once their horns are sort of laying on the ground, their legs sticking out, he's dead.
He's gone. Yeah, okay. Yeah. And so what are the big differences between, say, your water buff and then your bentang?
There's obviously the visual difference, the horn difference, this body structure and the anatomy is much the same. Mm-hmm. It's just the physical sort of width of them. They've both got an attitude as bad as each other. I still shoot the scrub bull, the bantang, and the buffalo in all the same spot. I shoot them all high lung.
Yep.
Just once you've deflated them and popped both lungs, she's end of story.
Done. Yeah. And so of those three, the scrub balls, your bentangs, and your water buff, which are the biggest, or are they all pretty similar?
You can get some massive scrub balls. When you get these Brahman cross scrub balls up here, they're quite tall, really tall, intimidating, huge necks on them. The bantang's certainly the smallest of them all.
Yeah.
I would probably give the NT scrub ball probably with the worst attitude. They're the ones that just want to kill you. They just don't care. So I've been charged quite a few times. Had some nasty close calls with them, and you got to make sure you hit them right, otherwise you're going to be in trouble. They do push up trees and they do chase you around the tree.
Yeah.
Where the buffalo will just turn you into a can of sardines and they just mash you into the ground.
Jesus. So, what's your closest experience with one? Like, just one story you can give us.
Yeah, it was last year. I had a buddy who shot one, came over from America with me and shot one, and I said, dude, you got to shoot it, high lung, and he sort of shot it a bit lower. It ran out in this big open plain. I said, Johnny, I've got to get this thing back, man. I said, we can't have it out in the open. I've got to get back in the timber to be safe. So I sort of ran out there, took my pack off, ran out so it could deliberately see me, made it charge me, and I'm hightailing back to this tree, and it is on my rear hole fast. It's pulled up, and it's about 10 yards in front of the tree, and I'm about around a tree about 8 inches round. And I'm sort of yelling out to the side of me, Johnny, shoot that fucking thing. Shoot it. He goes, it's 42. I said, send it. And an arrow hit beautifully right in the middle of its brisket, just hold it. But obviously the bull's in 10 yards in front of me, and it's going, well, you hurt me, fuck you. And it just charged me straight around, and the horn just caught the edge of my shirt. So you sort of got to go, wait. And you got to sort of judge which way he's going to go around the tree, and he just caught the edge of my shirt as he went, scaling past me, and then he piled up in a bucket of trees, and he was dead because John shot him well.
Far
Yeah.
out, dude. That's insane.
But yeah, just got to hold your sort of ground on him and just don't go too mad. And to act like that, it all comes with experience too. You
Definitely.
sort of can't freak out. You just got to look at the situation as it is.
Yeah.
So I'm just lucky I've been charged a lot of times and sort of knew what to do.
I was going to say, I wouldn't recommend it to anyone who's brand new to bow hunting to smack a bull and run out after it. Show your face after you've done it. Oh, that's hilarious. Mate, so, I mean, that kind of tells us a little bit about some of the animals that you're after. One thing I actually would like to know a little bit more about is the bow fishing as well up there. What's the deal with that? Are you able just to walk the beach line and go for anything in the shallows?
Yep, so I love bow fishing. It's one of my big passions in the wet season up here. You got great currents, rivers, reefs up here. It's awesome fun.
Mm-hmm.
So there's bow hunting for fish, and then there's bow fishing for fish as ABA classifies it.
Okay.
So bow fishing is we float around in the shallows, stingrays and sharks, scaled fish, and we just shoot them off the front of the boat.
Yep.
You get there, and then you can also jump off the boat, and just walk the shallows and shoot whatever pops up. A couple of legal things for bow fishing up here is you can't shoot a barramundi under the legal size, which is 55 centimetres.
Yep.
And this sawfish is now off limits.
Okay. Yeah. And so what about the crocodiles up there, like the saltwater crocs? How aware of them do you have to be?
I think living up here for so long, we've become a little bit complacent. Mm-hmm. But as a new guy coming up here, certainly keep your eyes open. Always watch the water. Don't have your back to the water.
Yeah.
If there's water, there's a crocodile there somewhere.
Okay.
Simple.
So for the American listeners, how many people go missing a year in Northern Territory from crocs? Is there many?
There is. I don't know the true numbers of it because the blackfella communities, I believe they lose 3 or 4 a year on some of the communities. I think some of them I don't even hear of.
Yeah.
But generally, there's always a couple, 2 or 3 every year that you hear on the news that they've been taken.
Yeah.
And it's usually just by being silly, just doing the wrong thing.
Just doing those things you weren't talking about before, like having your back to the water, for instance.
Yeah, or just, if your lure is, they might be fishing, a guy got taken just 20 minutes up the road here from me, and he just, got his lure snagged for the sake of a $3 lure. He got in the water and tried to just hook it 2 minutes from the bank, and the croc fish come under him and just grabbed him.
Yeah.
So he lost his life for $3. It's pretty unfortunate,
It is. It's pretty crazy. I mean, a lot of people kind of think, well, it's a big-ass crocodile. Like, why can't you see it coming? But realistically, like, they're stealthful, man. They're crazy.
Man, I've never seen, when you see a 6 metre croc, and that's a big croc, if you see a 4.5, it looks like a 6 metre. But you watch him on the water and you just see him like a National Geographic, and he comes in and just lower his eyes on the water. You wouldn't even know he was there. He could be a foot on the water. You never know he was there.
Yeah.
They're one of the, the old prehistoric animals, and they've just learnt how to hunt and kill and be simply the predator of the world. They're awesome. Awesome.
Have you ever seen any video content of them taking out any of the buffs or the bigger game up there?
Oh, I've seen them smack other crocodiles. Catch freshwater crocodiles, sharks. Seen them take pigs, birds, pelicans. I haven't seen them take a cow or a buffalo yet. I've seen revenants on them have been hunting, and the crocodile will actually grab the bovine's nose, which is cattle, and break the whole nose off the cattle. I've seen that quite a few times. Yeah. Which is a pretty rough day when you see that. You've usually got to kill the beast or tell the station owner, hey guys, you've got a crocodile, taking a nose off a beast. Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But they're pretty wild. They're ruthless. They're an incredible machine.
And so you've got them both up there. You've got the saltwaters and the freshwater crocs up there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So you're pretty much not safe wherever you are if there's water around. Really, it's like
that's right. And the reason why there's so many crocodiles because it's we have a wet season here. The floodplains, the whole territory fills up with water. Mm-hmm. So crocodiles, once the water level goes up, okay, I can go anywhere I want. And as the water level subsides during the dry season, then they're stuck in these little tiny pools. So the following year, there might not have been one there. Yep. You have a good wet season, the crocodile moves into this new little honey hole. He's like, oh, wow, this is cool. And And that's how they disperse so fast.
Oh, that's crazy. And so obviously with the wet season coming through, it's something that the people have to be aware of. So how does that affect your actual hunting year, for instance? Like obviously you can hunt all year round, but how does the wet season affect it?
Yeah, the wet season affects it massively. Basically, sort of from January to April, you could say, or even April to May. It's cut off. You can't go anywhere. You can't drive out your bush blocks. Everything's still flooded. Water levels are high. Tracks are soaked. So that's where bow fishing and the tournament season's coming for me there.
Okay.
Then I really start to get into the pigs and the buffalo from sort of June through to November.
Yeah. Okay, excellent. And so, I mean, the tournaments, that's something that I do want to kind of dive into. So, I mean, you do travel around quite a lot doing the different tournaments within Australia, within America. And I believe that you do that as part of the team, part of the Hoyt team. Is that correct?
Yeah, look, a lot of people ask me about it. They said, if you had to choose bow hunting or target archery, which one would you choose? And I've never been able to answer it. I love them just as equally as each other.
Mm-hmm.
I like the discipline of tournament shooting. It's, ranging a target that's unmarked or shooting a feed around and putting 6 arrows at 50 yards, bang in the center of that gold.
Yeah.
Or, you're hunting in British Columbia on a stone sheet. They're both as good as each other. But, look, it's being part of the Hoyt team is amazing. That was the golden dream come true. But I just like to support America. They help me a lot, so I like to go and support them. So that's why I like to travel to America and shoot with the big boys.
Yeah, definitely. And, I mean, when you're going to competitions like that is some of the best-known archers in the world, right, when it comes to the tournament shooting. That's where they go to earn their money to do the big prizes. Are you still asking them? Are you still kind of like looking up to them and fanboying and asking them questions and bits and pieces, or is it once you're there, it's kind of competition time, let's get your head on?
Oh, no, very much. I'm a huge fanboy to a lot of the guys, and I'm mates with most of all of them, all the pros. And they're just a cool bunch of guys, and they're just a whole new level of shooting. And when you're on the shooting line and you got Levi or Chance or Tim, and he's right beside you shooting, it's pretty cool. They certainly put a morale into the scene, and it's like, wow, man, Tim's shooting right in front of me. This is cool.
Yeah.
It makes you want to shoot really well.
Yeah, definitely. And so, coming up the ranks in your tournament shooting, what have been some of the best tips regarding accuracy for you? Like best things to improve your shots?
Oh, look, this you can make a whole podcast out of just that, out of that question. It all comes down to how determined you want it, or how determined you want to win. So I'm sort of talking at the higher level of tournaments. Mm-hmm. It's knowing your targets, it's knowing your distances, it's spending time watching targets. And if you're at work and you got a rangefinder, you sit there eating lunch and you go, wow, how far is that tree up there? Oh, it's 37 in your head and your rangefinder. And it's like 48. You go, well, I'm way off the distance here.
Yeah.
So range estimation is huge. Mm-hmm. Shooting up and down hills is quite big. That's massive. The perception of the target changes. A guy told me a long time ago, he goes, the way to shoot a target is you got to try and imagine it. We're shooting at a spot that we cannot see.
Yeah.
And when I sort of thought about, what the hell does that mean? And the more you think about it, it's so true. Mm-hmm. So you see a 50-yard target out there, I'm trying to range it, then I'm trying to shoot the 12 ring at a target I can't see. And when you sort of really get in depth and train your brain to that, then you can sort of understand it even better.
Mm. And so with your setup for that, is it always single pin for your target?
Yeah, so I shoot a model, a sliding sight. I shoot a scope with a single pin with a sight tape. So I'll look at my target, estimate at 42. I'll wind down to 42, hold, shoot. Yeah. So yes, definitely a single pin for tournament.
And then, before you entered the pro stage, was there anything major that was like a turning point for you when it came to the tournament shooting, where you stepped up all of a sudden? You're like, oh, I started noticing that I was improving and really starting to win a lot more.
Yeah, I shot Bowhunter Unlimited, which is your standard 5-pin sight for a long time. I shot that for years and years, and then I really wanted to step my game up by ranging targets better, and I wanted to do that with a single pin. So if I've got to range I can range it, dial my dot in, If I know if I shoot the centre of that target on 12 ring, I know that I'm estimating my distance better.
Yeah.
The bigger guys and the pros all shoot that sort of setup. So to improve, I want to shoot what they shoot too. So they're a big influence as well.
Yeah, definitely. And then when it comes to release, what release aids are you using?
So I used to shoot an index trigger for a long time. I still shoot an index trigger for hunting, but now on the tournament scene, I shoot a thumb button and back tension release aids.
Okay.
So yeah, I shoot a forefinger. Just because of my dirty big hands, so that's why I shoot a forefinger.
So why the difference in choice between hunting and your archery, like your target shooting?
Just for me personally, I know that I can sort of, in the hunting situation, I can snap shoot that shot off if I have to.
Yeah.
I can dump on that trigger, the arrow will still hit its point, where I like to get a lot more consistency on the target range, where I can hold through my shot, that 7, 8, 9 seconds, hold, break, and hit the center of it. So that's why I like to shoot a handle, just for that more consistency.
Yeah. And did you see a big difference from shooting your trigger into moving on to your back tension or your thumb releases?
At first I didn't, because it's such a whole new routine, different muscles, everything's sort of working differently. But now, after years and years of hanging off a handle, it's big difference. Because your brain tells you to focus. You can't just get on it and dump on the trigger, because otherwise your arrow will miss the target. So you've really got to focus. You look at your pin, pull through your shot, and so it certainly makes me shoot a hell of a lot better. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. And when it comes to your shot process, what are you going through? Like, what's your thing that you do each time when you go and take your shot? Is there something that you're telling yourself each time?
Look, I used to. I think just from after 25 years, it's all sort of a natural experience. It's all natural now, so I don't even think about the shot. All I think about now is just simply looking at that target. That's the distance. That's the target. That's where I've got to put that arrow. I want dial in my sight or whatever it is, and then I'm aiming and shooting. But for a beginner sort of, or a novice, it's where your feet sit. It's how you want to position your body to the target. You set your hand grip up, put your arrow on, is your little index of your arrow out the right way. Always move your sight first, and then run through the shot that way. I'm not sure if I'm explaining it correctly, and everyone does it differently.
Yeah.
But everyone has a process, yes, but we sometimes forget about the process because it's so natural.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously that's the state you want to get it to. If you're doing the same thing every single time, every single shot, then it does become a natural movement for you. And
that's what they say. Archery is all about repetition. If you can get that repetition correct, it's everything's going to work at the other end of the target for you.
Yeah, definitely. And so, I mean, 25 years down track, do you still practice a lot? Are you still practicing daily?
Yeah, I try and shoot about 80 arrows a day now.
Yeah.
I used to shoot a lot more, but I found that it wasn't viable. Mm-hmm. It didn't help me in any sort of way. So now it's about 80. Just keep the body going. Just keep shooting them, sending arrows down. The more time you spend behind the bow, the more comfortable it becomes.
Yeah. Michael Jordan used to start every day of his practice with an hour of chest passes. Every single day he'd do an hour of chest passes. So, I mean, there's definitely not a skill, no matter how basic or how advanced it is, that you can't practice more. I think when it comes to earning and learning your passion and making sure that you're in on it. When it comes to your shots, are you taking short shots, long shots? Like, are you mixing it up every single day? What do you start and do with?
I do mix it up, but I might just shoot 50 yards for a couple of weeks, just sequence shot.
Yeah.
And then, and I keep a log of all my stuff that I do. I keep a log so I can come back and for a reference. And then, if I'm coming up to a 3D tournament in the States or whatever, then I'll start shooting my range at different distances. I'll shoot one end of the range. I'll pull the arrows out. I'll just turn around, then I'll shoot the range backwards. Mm-hmm. So it's not the same. Your mind's always thinking about stuff.
Yeah.
So yes, I sort of break it up. So you can see, so I keep a log of everything. So my target, what I actually ranged it at, where I shot it, and the actual distance. So
wow.
So now I can look back into it in different targets and go, wow, I shoot the javelina at this, or I shoot it at this every time. Why do I shoot the javelina of a low 12? And So then you can work on that target. So then I might shoot the javelina for a solid week just to practice on why do I keep mucking that shot up.
Yeah.
So,
and so when it comes to a target, obviously 1 meter, that's going to make a fair bit of difference in where your arrow actually lands, right?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can a 1 meter, you can be out of the 12 ring or the complete center of it. Absolutely, a big difference.
Mm-hmm. And so when you go out hunting, are you having to range animals anymore, or it's just literally because you've practiced that all so much now?
I still actually like to range my animals. I like to give them a bit of respect. I just don't like wounding an animal. I like to give them, everything I can give them, put them down on the ground. So yeah, look, I still range them.
Mm-hmm.
Most animals at sort of 30 and under, I can sort of go, I know exactly what you are, and I'll bang him. But anything sort of 30 and over, I'll double check him.
And so what's the furthest shot that you'll take on an animal?
Oh, this is another good subject that that could get you in a lot of trouble. Look, I've shot animals out to 80, 85 yards.
Uh-huh.
Do I like doing it? No. Should I have done it? Probably not. but can I? Yes.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, I like to shoot sort of 50 and under.
Mm-hmm.
Is what I like to do. And it's nice getting into bow range, close bow range. That's what archery is all about, is creeping in close and slamming one through his lungs. And anything sort of from 15 to 20 yards on a big game animal is exciting because you're in his space. You can hear him. You can smell him. He's right there. It's cool.
Yeah, definitely. That experience of just getting up close and personal is incredible.
When you're in an animal's comfort zone and he doesn't like that you're there, that's that. You've already killed him. You could have killed him.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's
cool.
crazy. And so, I mean, with your single pin sight, so compared to your 5-pin sights, for instance, you pretty much, you set your pins up and then you're done. You've got your 20, 30, 40, 50, whatever you set it out to be. When it comes to something like a single pin, how far out can you transition that? Like, can you transition it from, say, 20 meters all the way out to 120 meters?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so we shoot the big Reading tournament in May every year, and that tournament goes from 3 yards to 101 yards.
Wow.
So that's why I do a sort of lot of range shooting for that simple tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And the bows of today, are fantastic to shoot. A lot of guys can shoot really well at 100 yards.
Yeah.
A lot of people can't too, but but you can shoot quite effectively at 100 yards, yes.
Yeah, and so when it comes to your archery your archery bow compared to your hunting bow, how different are they? Like, they're obviously both Hoyts, but what's the difference in the two?
The main difference is the visual look and poundage.
Yeah.
Obviously a different arrow, So I like to shoot sort of 82, 83 on my hunting bows.
Uh-huh.
And my target bow are generally between 67 and 69 in that bracket. It feels comfortable.
Yeah.
It's a nice poundage that I can sort of shoot all day, get a lot of good speed out of it. My arrow drop is minimum, a bit more poundage, and I can grab a bit more speed as well.
Yeah.
So I try and for ASA events in America, we're rated at 300 feet per second. So I try and push my bow right to that limit, and that's why it creeps between 67 and 69.
Yeah, so you're shooting it through the chronograph every day, like when you're setting it up, just to make sure the speeds are right?
Yes, yeah. Correct.
Okay.
You got it. Otherwise, I'd hate to shoot a tournament, they come back in front of you and go, hey, dude, your bow's shooting at 315, disqualified.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be a nice feeling.
No,
and
definitely.
It's not fair on the other competitors as well.
Yeah, and so when it comes to things like stabilizers and bits and pieces, how much of a difference are they making, and do you use them on your archery bows?
Stabilizers are a massively important part of the bow. Some people think they're not. I believe they do, and all of us do. I shoot a 33-inch bar. I run about 9 ounces of weight on the front, and I run about 28 ounces on the back on a 15-inch bar. That's on my tournament bow.
Okay.
On my hunting bow, I run a quivalizer. Options archery quivalizer.
Yep.
They're which most people have now sort of seen.
Yeah, they're cool.
I don't run a rear bar on my hunting bow. I just don't need it. The setup that I got seems to work with these Hoyt bows. So.
Yeah. So when it comes to, say, for instance, someone using different bows, like obviously there's a lot of different options out there for people to use. What should someone be looking for in regards to like the way that the bow feels when you're holding it outright. So obviously when you're adding something like equalizers to the front, it's adding a fair bit more weight pulling it forward. But what is kind of a comfortable stance for someone to be able to hold, and should they be able to hold out for a certain distance before you'd say, hey, that bow is too heavy for you, or that bow is too light for you?
Look, it's a good question. It's a hard question to actually answer that. Everybody's so different and so built so strangely. It's to me, if I hold a bow out, I don't need to hold it long out, because when you draw back with your bow, that draw weight is cantilevering the front way.
Yeah.
So to hold just a bare bow out in front with equalizer, stabilizer on it, with not drawing the bow back, it feels quite strange. It feels odd until you draw it back. Then it's going, oh wow, that's really comfortable.
Yeah.
But there's heaps of options. There's from bee stinger to AE to equalizers. There's fuse. There's so many options for stabilizers. And I had a bloke ring me today actually and asked me the same sort of question, and I nearly couldn't answer it, because I don't know all the stabilizers out there.
Yeah. Well,
that's why I love. Sorry,
I was going to say, I think you did answer it well in the fact that you just have to go and trial it. Like, that's the best thing to do, is go out and give it a shot, give it, like, have a play with them and see which one works best for you.
That's why I'm a really big fan of archery clubs, people joining archery clubs, because you can go up to an archery club and go, hey man, I want to buy a new quiver. I want to buy a new stabilizer. Can I try yours? And most guys are more than happy to unbolt their stabilizer, throw it on your bow, punch down a dozen shots. Doesn't feel right. You try the next one.
Yeah.
So it's great for that. And I did that 25 years ago. So.
Yeah, definitely. No, that's really cool. Since becoming more of an outdoorsman and spending a lot more time outdoors, there's obviously a lot of different brands and bits and pieces that can draw you in. And there's a lot of money that can be spent in the archery world, but also the outdoors world, where like there's things from water bottles through to backpacks, through to arrows, through to stabilizers, like we're just talking about. One product that I actually really, really do love, and that I have become like a bit of a frother over, is the Yeti stuff. Based on the fact, like, I was kind of like, I'm not sure. I actually got gifted one of their smaller little coffee cups, and it was just incredible straight away. So I went and bought myself a water bottle, and I can do hot and cold in the water bottle. The hot lasts for like 12 to 24 hours, depending on how much you're opening it and closing it. Ice will stay in it for up to 12 hours at least if I've got water in there with it. And then on top of that, I also got gifted a large coffee mug as well. So I mean, I'm a full convert when it comes to Yeti. And this is something that you've become a full convert when it comes to Hoyt. Where did that kind of come to from you? Like, I mean, I actually had to witness the experience of using a Yeti first before I was like, okay, I'm happy to buy. And I actually now buy them as gifts for everyone. I'll go out and buy people the little tumblers as a gift. I'm like, hey, that's a perfect little gift that's something that I just love to give to people. Like, hey, you can now have the joys of a hot coffee too. But where does the experience for Hoyt come for you? Like, I'm sure it came before you actually started with the brand as a shooter.
Oh, look, absolutely, yeah. It's funny, I'll get back into that Yeti story. I'm a huge Yeti fan, so I was introduced Yeti 6 years ago in the States.
Yeah.
We got when Jess and I bought some Yeti stuff that some of the first Yetis there it was, and I brought it back to Australia. I was like, hey, man, check this out, this Yeti. And they sort of looked at me like, dude, it's just a drink bottle, whatever.
Yeah.
And now they look back and go, we are one of the first that ever have Yeti. And I've got so much Yeti stuff. It's crazy now. It's cool. And a lot of limited edition stuff and colours and patterns that they don't make anymore. So yeah. I'm wrapped with that. But how I got into Hoyt, I still remember the story, actually. So I used to hunt with a couple of German guys when I lived in Melbourne when I did my apprenticeship. Uh-huh. And I went around there one day and they were into hunting. They were big sambar hunters. They used to hunt off the hounds, and I did a little bit of that just to experience it and didn't really get into that sort of line of it. But he had a high country bow hanging on his wall with split limbs. Mm-hmm. I was like, wow, man, I've never seen a split limb bow. That was really cool. So I wanted a high country bow. Anyway, so I went to the local archery shop, which is now it's all shut down there in Sindel and Glenway. Well, it used to be called the Knock Shop, and Bob Bell and another guy. Anyway, they're both passed away now, but they taught me about it. Anyway, I went into the archery shop. I said, hey, dudes, I want a high country split limb bow. And they sort of looked at me with this disgusting face. They're like, you ain't getting that bow. You're going to buy a Hoyt split limb bow. I was like, okay, cool. So they pulled one out of the box and they showed me it back in 1996, I think it was, 96. And that's when it started. That was it. And I've been with Hoyt ever since. Yeah. I've never owned another brand of bow, and I've stayed with Hoyt and stayed true with the brand. And that's how it all sort of happened. That's just no, you're not shooting a Hoyt country. You're going to shoot a Hoyt.
No way. Righto. And so when it comes to obviously there's different variations of bows that come out, and each year they release anywhere between 3 to say 6 or 7 models. When it comes to the different models of a bow, when there's someone buying a bow, what's going to be the major differences that they see from, say, $1,000 bow all the way through to, say, your $2,000 to $3,000 bows that you've got coming out now?
Oh, look, I think the beginner or the novice or a guy purchasing his first bow wouldn't see a massive difference until the price tag. They're sort of all blown away with the cams and the shiny colours and rests and limbs and risers, and they're not really sure. It's like me going to buy a pair of women's shoes. I got no idea. They all look shiny. They all got heels on them.
Yeah.
Aren't they all the same? So I just sort of look at it like that. It's another hard question to answer. I try and push a person towards a Hoyt simply as it's like a Toyota. They're a great bow to resell. You can always push them on. I don't generally see any problems with them. And I don't push people towards other brands because I just don't know enough information about them. Mm-hmm. Who else can I answer the question? I just basically sell them a Hoyt because I sort of know the base model, the intermediate model, and then the high-end model. You know, the rise is a little bit different. There's a little bit more tolerance, a little bit built a little bit nicer. The finishes are nicer, a different limb configuration. So that's sort of between the low end and the high end models, what I sort of just explained then.
Yeah, definitely. And so, of the low end models, like, do you have any now? Is it something that you would shoot now if you had?
Oh, look, I've got a couple like Hoyt Chargers. I've got some Power Techs. I've got some older models there, like some the intermediate models. Would I shoot them? Absolutely. There's nothing wrong with them. They're still a good bow, and the bow is only as good as the operator behind the string. So, and I could probably still pick up one of these 1978 model Hoyts, and I reckon I could still shoot it just as good. and it sound like a T model Ford, but it'd be fun to shoot still.
That's unreal. And so, I mean, as a collector of bows, is that more of a hobby side of things now? Like, obviously, you said to me before you do get a new bow every year, but is that a hobby rather?
Oh, look, I'm just fortunate enough to, Hoyt picks up the tab down for me for that. But look, it's certainly a hobby now. Yeah, I remember. I think I've sold 7 bows, 7 models as I got into Hoyt. From 16, 17, 18, 19. You got to sell your bow to buy the next one, and you're broke, and your car breaks down, and we all go through that. But now once I know the bows that I had back then, and now when I see them pop up on forums or YouTube, whatever it is, I try and buy them back now just to have them in my collection.
Yeah,
it's to me. I look around now, and they're all like they've all got their own stories and histories, and some fell off cliffs in New Zealand, and some have been driven on, and some have shot record animals and trophies and for tournaments, and so to me, I just love looking at them, and they all tell a story. And one day, my little boy's going to inherit a pretty cool collection. Yeah. Hopefully, he doesn't sell it on me.
Just got to make sure he's actually a hunting convert, hey?
That's right. Hopefully, he doesn't shoot a Matthews or a Bowtech.
So, I mean, when you're standing at the line, when you're doing your tournament shots, and obviously there is other companies there is other people representing different brands. Is that something that you guys talk about, like the difference between your bows? And
oh, look, we all banter each other now, but between Hoyt, Bowtech, PC, Matthews, Elite, honestly, they're nearly all a muchness now. They're all built really well. The tolerances are fantastic. They all look good. It just comes down to personal preference. That's all it is.
Yeah.
And a lot of the guys in ASA in the States, they'll shoot a particular brand because it's their job. So Matthews might pay more money in a contingency than Elite, or PC might pay this, or Hoyt pays that. So, and that's why a lot of these guys shoot the bows that they do now, because it's their money maker.
Yeah. Yeah, I think coming into it like later in life, like I literally just bought my first bow in April of 2017. So coming into it, the first time I bought a bow, maybe it's 2018, I can't remember. Anyway, like Hoyt definitely owned the market in regards to as a newbie coming in. I was like, well, Hoyt's the bow I should be buying based on the pure marketing. When I started looking into it more and more and more, and I had one friend who was in Sydney who was kind of into archery. He's like, well, how about you try out this bow? Like, why don't you go to the shop and check out this. And it kind of opened up my eyes a little bit more. But I think they definitely do own the market, and it's not necessarily, it's not a bad thing. Like, it's obviously a good thing that they're good marketers, but they're pushing a good product when it comes to someone like you who would go out and stand for them every single day of the week. Like, hey, this is a great bow. It's something I've shot for so many years now.
Oh, that's right. I simply can't fault them. It's a beautiful, well-made product. Hoyt, there's no doubtably they are the leaders of archery. You know, I've been to the factory in Utah 3 or 4 times now, and it still blows my mind when I look at that factory. And you could eat your lunch off the floor. It's beautiful. Everything's maintained and runs on a sequence, and it's just an incredible show. It really is. Where was I going with that? Sorry, man, I blew that one.
No, that's fine. I think it kind of stands for itself in regards to, like, it comes from the top down. Like, it has to be a good sequence across the whole board. Like, realistically, a good company is going to have clean floors. You should be able to eat off the floors when you go to their factories. It shouldn't be that when behind closed doors it's filthy and shitty, because that just shows that the product's probably not going to be great. If they can't even take pride in cleaning their floors, then how are they going to take pride in their actual product and developing and delivering something that's really worthwhile?
That's exactly right. You know, even their packaging, even their box that they come in is cool. You know, it's just there's so much care and thought, and they really want to look after the archer. You know, every bow has its flaws. Everybody's got its cool. It just comes down to personal preference. But man, until they stop making Hoyt, I will shoot them forever. It's tattooed on my arm. I can't change it.
Can't get rid of it now. It's there forever.
Can't get rid of it. You know?
Oh, mate, that's unreal. Well, I mean, you've had some pretty awesome experiences with traveling overseas. What's been some of the best, like the highlights when it comes to hunting overseas, hunting abroad?
Oh, look! I have been fortunate. I haven't shot, some of the animals that some of the other top bow hunters in Australia have shot, but I've experienced some amazing stuff. I think I've seen nearly every game animal there is. I haven't done any African stuff yet. Mm-hmm. That'll be later in life, but I can't climb mountains and I can sit in the blind and blow them out that way. But sort of for me, probably still is probably British Columbia. Yeah. I was doing some wrangling for a company there a couple of years ago, and the stone sheep has really stood out to me of an incredible animal. Back when I was a little kid, you're looking after your magazines, you go,
Hold up. I just lost you. Stop for a sec. I can't hear you. Can you hear me? Bugger. Give me 2 seconds. I'll call you back.
Yo.
There we go. Working again. Sorry. So the stone sheet.
Weird.
Yeah, that's real weird. Just cut off. So stone sheet that you see in the magazines is where we got to.
That's right. Yeah. So, you see them in the magazines. You're like, oh, whatever, rams, sheep, bighorn, the Rocky Mountain, Dole ram, and the stone. And then I got to experience hunting stone rams, and it's the way you got to get to them, the gear you need, the clothing, the pack boxes, the horses, the country, dealing with bears and cold nights, and you hobble up the horses and they run across the river, and then you got to go get them back the next day for the clients, and then you bump into a moose on the way through, and it's just like, wow, and there's mountain goats on the other side of the hill. And so that certainly has been a huge part of my life. Is sheep now is really cool.
Yeah, and they seem to be quite the elusive animal, like, because I think they are so scarce. Like, even being able to get a tag for them is so hard, and they're not drawing that many. And then of the tags that get drawn, there's only something like 10 to 15% actually get filled. So, I mean, when it comes to that, obviously they're a scarce animal. Like, there's a few of them out there, and to see them is even an incredible piece. But when it comes to being successful on a hunt like that, what does the pack out process look like?
So the pack out, so the one that the client shot, you know, when you're spending that sort of money, that was a $50,000 sheep. So it's incredible money. So when you're spending that sort of money, you can afford to kill it, you can afford to cape it out. So that was a full body mount.
Yeah.
We brought it all out and in the pack box and came home with him. So
are you packing it out and putting it onto onto the horses to carry back for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Came back out.
And is taxidermy something that you've done a fair bit of yourself?
I actually have done a fair bit of it, yeah, back when I was younger, and I don't do much of it anymore. I don't have time for that sort of stuff. It's just easier to pay the taxidermist's bill, but I still enjoy caping him out and head preparation and all that sort of stuff. My wife likes that. She wants to get into actually doing some waterfowl this year. She wants to learn how to mount birds and that sort of stuff. So
I mean, obviously, there's a lot of patience involved in that side of things. When it comes to actually the starting process, which is you actually caping out the animal, what would be kind of some tips, I guess, you'd give for people when it comes to caping out and making sure that you're doing a good job of it?
A lot of information. Read up before you kill the animal. That's the best. Don't kill the animal, then go, how do I do it? So work out how to do it first. I'm a huge fan of Havalons, the Havalon knives, really sharp blades, just they're consistent. And obviously salt. And the salt preparation is quite important too. Turning the lips, turning the nose, turning the ears out. But yeah, I'm still going to go back to learn how to cape first before you kill your animal. Mm-hmm. Go to the knackery or an abattoir or a farmer and get a dead calf and just skin the calf out, or something like that, just so you actually learn how to do it. And you can feel the lips with your scalpel blades as you're turning the lips inside out, or learning how to use ear plies to reverse the ear out. So you don't want to do that on a 50-gram animal when you've got no idea how to do it. So
no, definitely.
That's what I would recommend. But
yeah, definitely.
Some people can't do that. So.
No, that's incredible. And I mean, it's pretty crazy when you talk about 50K, like in American dollars, it's close on probably 70K for us, if not maybe a little bit more. It's a lot of money to be dropping on some of these hunts. And I mean, some of the boys even going over from Australia to travel anywhere to go hunting are still starting to drop a fair bit of money on it. And it's really where it comes down to paying for the experience, isn't it? Like if you come out of the hunt and you don't get the animal, you've still had the incredible experience of it.
Oh, absolutely. Travelling overseas. I still love going to the airport. You're dragging your bow case through the airport, people looking at you and going, wow, what's this dude got? Who's this celebrity, I still enjoy that part of it. It's meeting new people, getting into a new truck you haven't been in, driving up the road, cracking a foreign beer, smelling the air, looking at new animals. And I still love all that sort of stuff, and that's part of the hunt. I think, and guys that are booking hunts like this and doing these sort of hunts, they're a serious hunter anyway. Mm-hmm. So they've got respect for the animal. They've got respect for the people. They're not some hillbilly guy just going over to kill it because they can.
Yeah,
we're doing it because we love it and we want to chase that animal.
Yeah, definitely. I think, how long had you been hunting in Australia before you even thought of going overseas?
Yeah, so I started America 2013. So I haven't been hunting overseas that long now. But still love it, and we'll still keep going. And yeah,
definitely.
But I got some sort of goals I want to do. I want to go and chase a big caribou, a big tundra caribou would be nice. Big double shoveled bull on the migration. That's sort of pretty high up on my list. I love mule deer.
Yeah.
Utah mule deer are some of my favourites. I spent a lot of time in Saskatchewan, Canada. Mm-hmm. A foreigner or an alien is what we call. We're not allowed to actually hunt Saskatchewan mule deer, but I was lucky enough to hunt with guys that were hunting them and just scouting them and watching them in the fields and where they go and how they travel. And you see these monster big racks sticking up in fields. And it was awesome. Really, really cool.
Yeah, that's unreal. And I guess is a good question to maybe wrap up with. Why do you hunt? What keeps you in it? What makes you want to keep hunting?
I still think it's the adventure. I think it's the more I hunt, the more I sort of want. What I mean by that, I'm not wanting mass numbers of animals anymore. I'm sort of only want sort of 3 or 4 animals a year now. I'm sort of starting to get through that list of what I actually really want to target, what I want to hunt, what I enjoy, and where I want to go with it. So, yeah, that's sort of really sort of why I'm still doing bow hunting.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the thrill. It's that achievement of taking down an animal properly, having the respect, rubbing its hair, looking at it on the wall after you've finished. I think that's still why I bow hunt, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It was quite an interesting chat that I had with a guy down here, Jake Gasparowski, and he was telling me, like, I was talking about this beast I've been chasing for ages, a big red stag. And he's like, make sure that when you get that stag that you give it the respect that it deserves and put it up on your wall. Like, put it through the taxidermy process, because you've got a story and a history with that stag now. So when you finally get there and you get that guy on the ground, like, make sure you go through the process. And I'd never really thought of it in that manner before, like of giving the animal the respect of putting it back up on your wall. I don't know, it was kind of, it's something that hadn't really touched my, I guess I hadn't even thought of it, yeah.
It's funny you say like a trophy. It's the majority of people, I believe, think that trophy is this big, monstrous animal. It's a world record breaker. But a bloke 25 years ago, David Luxford, he always told me, Rowan, a trophy is what you make of it. Mm-hmm. If you've got a little tiny dink deer and you like it, that's a trophy. And I've always sort of remember that. And I love animals with busted horns, or it's got one eye, or it's got a cape that's been fighting and smacked up, or it's missing its tail. And that's, to me, it's my trophy. That's the animal I sort of target for the week. And I was like, well, I got him. And so a trophy certainly doesn't need to be the biggest. Yeah. They're always impressive. And you can brag about your mates and say, I shot a 30-inch sambar, but it's a 25-inch salmon is just as good in my books.
Yeah, definitely. One story that I actually really love is Aidan Doomster's told me about one of the first things he ever shot was a fox, and it actually was the first thing he shot with his bow. So he's got his dad to get it taxidermy for him. He still has it at his dad's house somewhere. But I just thought it was such a cool story, like for a dad to go out and give his son that experience and pass on that passion straight away, and then for the kid to be like, Dad, let's keep this one. Like, that's a great trophy. That's one of the best ones I've heard of.
That's awesome. Yeah, those boys were just up here a couple of weeks ago, and they're fantastic couple of lads, really cool lads.
Yeah, definitely. James was telling me about it. He said it was really cool.
It was cool, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Rowan, what can we leave people with? Is there anything we've missed out on that you want to touch on, or where should people follow you and all that side of things as well?
Yeah, look, I'm a big Instagram person. Just follow me on Instagram. You can send me a message through Facebook Messenger, whatever. Generally, someone will know who I am, and someone will get hold of me somewhere. Just look for the Hoyt guy, the Hoyt Australian guy. So,
no, that's awesome, man. Thank you very much for your time. It's been a good chat.
No, it's been a pleasure. Thank you. And thanks for letting me share some of the information I've experienced and had. And until next time, we'll do it again.
Yeah, definitely. It's cool to hear it, and I'm sure there's going to be a request for more. That's definitely a good thing. So, yeah, thanks, mate.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
That's it, guys. That's a wrap. Thank you so much for joining us this week on Becoming a Bowhunter. You guys can follow along with the journey at becomingabowhunter.podcast on Instagram and Facebook. You can also head across to the YouTube channel, which is Becoming a Bowhunter. So, guys, follow along. We've got a whole heap of different recipe videos up there, as well as different snippets from along the way, along the journey so far. If you guys do enjoy the show, please pass it around. If you got something out of this show, then I'm sure another bow hunter, another friend of yours would get a hell of a lot out of it as well. So please share the love, share the podcast, and thank you so much for tuning in.